A Bradford man shot at another's car after their partner's feud had escalated. Aadil Mahboob targeted his victim after being shown CCTV footage of his partner fighting with the man's wife. He bought a gun, and along with his accomplice, Qasim Dean followed his partner's car and pulled the trigger at the man's car while he was driving it. The bullet did not hit the man but became jammed in a rear passenger door, Bradford Crown Court heard. Mahboob and Dean were both convicted at trial of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life but found not guilty of attempted murder. The jury was unable to reach a verdict on the charge of attempting to cause grievous bodily harm. Mahboob was also found guilty of possession of a mobile phone in prison. He had already pleaded guilty to an offense of failing to surrender. Eleanor Fry, prosecuting, told the court that the trial had heard about an altercation between Mahboob's then-partner and the wife of the victim on September 25, 2020. She said, "That evening, it is the defendant's evidence that he watched CCTV of the altercation in the car park of a Morrison's supermarket, before driving to the scene." His Honor Judge Jonathan Gibson said Mahboob's partner and Dean's wife drove to the scene. They were followed by a car being driven by Dean, in which Mahboob was the passenger. Ms. Fry said, text messages between Mahboob's partner and Mahboob which showed he was angry and planning to go to him. On the footage the man could be seen exiting at Blythe Avenue and at the junction can be seen reversing and driving away. Mahboob then shot at the man's Volkswagen in Blythe Avenue, with the loaded firearm and the bullet became jammed in its rear passenger door. As the man tried to drive away, he was followed by Dean's car for a short while before they left the scene. The court heard he has since suffered with his mental health. Ms. Fry said, "A victim impact statement and a statement from the officer in the case provides details of the psychological impact these offenses have had on the complainant. He has had disturbed sleep, anxiety, and paranoia. He says he is unable to leave his house to go to work. He has been prescribed sleeping tablets. Even after the trial, a call had to be made by the police to the First Response Crisis Service helpline." Ms. Fry said Mahboob had previous convictions for 17 offenses including drug-related offenses and dangerous driving. She said Dean had one previous conviction for driving without insurance, for which he was given 8 points on his license. Representing Mahboob, Stephen Utley, told the court Mahboob had no previous convictions for violence, and he had sent a letter to the court, which the judge later said he took into account. In the letter, the court heard, Mahboob said he wanted to turn the clock back. Mr. Utley also made submissions in relation to the charges that the jury had acquitted Mahboob of and had failed to reach a verdict on and said an appeal against his conviction had already been lodged. Alistair Campbell, for Dean, said he could not be regarded as having a leading role. He said, he had no issue with the complainant or his family. "I invite you to conclude he did not know until a later stage what was to happen because why would he be driving around in his own car in knowledge an offense so serious was going to happen?" References submitted for Dean spoke of his good character, Mr. Campbell said. His Honor Judge Gibson jailed Mahboob for 13 years and 3 months, and Dean for 8 years, telling them they must serve half of their sentences in custody before being released on license. The judge told Mahboob, "The efforts you went to get the firearm demonstrate significant planning and you on your own admission played a leading role. The group was relatively small. It was you, Dean and 2 women in the other car who were never charged. There was a high risk of serious harm to the victim." Having read the victim impact statement, he has suffered serious psychological harm as a result of what happened. Judge Gibson told Dean, "You were jointly in possession of a firearm and that you knew he, Mahboob, had it in his possession and intended his victim would be endangered with it. You drove him to the scene and I am satisfied for you that this offending is very out of character. Certainly the drive from Morrison's to the scene you must have been aware, you knew he had the firearm and the intention was to endanger the life of the victim." Following the sentencing, Detective Chief Inspector Andy Farrell of Bradford said, "We welcome the sentence handed down today to Mahboob and Dean. This was a targeted attack, luckily no one was injured but the consequences could have easily been much worse.